The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Joanne Mercier. Hello, Joanne.
Hi, Dom.
And Father Cory Stika. Hi, Father Cory.
How's it going?
Very well, thanks. Just before we start, I got to say, coming up on Monday, Apple's WWDC event. I know it seems like we talk a lot about Apple, but this is really big for me because I am waiting for Apple to have a new 27-inch iMac because I really need an upgrade. Oh, you cannot imagine the number of times the recording comes to a halt because my machine goes, that's too much, and decides to stop doing anything for minutes at a time. So,
I have to admit, Don, my response wants to be, when you wish upon a star.
Well, do you think my emails to Tim Cook and my tweets to him, saying, please, will have any effect? Probably not. But,
I'm actually surprised. I would be surprised. This is just kind of my guessing, just because they didn't release it with the new iPad refresh.
Right. They had
They usually do that. They usually do the sizes together, but
they had the 24-inch iMac just a month ago. I actually don't expect it. I think that'll probably be the fall. What we'll probably see this week. Here's my predictions: is we'll see new MacBook Pro, 14-inch probably, or 16-inch, or maybe both. We'll see that for hardware. That's what we'll see. I doubt, and we might see a new watch. Other than that, I don't expect to see any hardware. It'll be all software announcements. I'm looking for really some nice updates to iPad OS. It really needs it. I'd like to see the widgets come to iPad OS like they are on the phone, which is we can place them anywhere on that giant screen. And Joanne will be talking about that later. And because I have an idea of what your pick of the week is. And then we'll have I'd like to see that. That's the big thing I want to see is improvements to the widgets.
Well, I will say, with how Android handles widgets, that is so nice because Android lets you put it on the phone. Now it grids it. It does a grid with the apps.
Right.
So you've got limits to what you can resize, but
and
you can put it anywhere.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But you've got limits you'd have no limits to where you could put it on the screen just within that grid.
Right.
So it's really nice to be able to have, here's my common apps I use, and right next to it is my calendar widget.
And on the phone they've got that. They need to, but on the iPad, it's just for some reason they started off with it. The widget's confined to the left side of the main screen, and it just doesn't make any sense when that's where you have all the screen real estate.
Right. So, it is annoying on the iPad.
Yeah.
But I just have a feeling in predicting on Monday's announcement, I don't think there's going to be a lot of hardware because of the chip shortage. I think that is going to curtail a lot of hardware for a little while, and that's a sad thing.
Yeah, it is a big deal. This
that's
chip
a good
shortage.
Point.
Yeah. Although I have to say, if they have an Apple Watch, I'm still holding out for the glucose monitoring. As soon as they have that, that's a must purchase, automatic purchase for me. No more sticking needles in my fingers. So, all right, but that's the future. We'll see how our predictions turn out after Monday. But first, let's talk about today's topic. And today, I want to talk about safe buying and selling online. And this is a big issue that's always been an issue. And it's something that recently has hurt me, frankly, and why I want to talk about it, because I want to help other people avoid my tale of woe. I think I mentioned on the show a few months ago how somehow my Apple Card's number, the actual number that they assign to it, the 5337, that's not it. I'm just making it off the top of my head. That number, somebody got it when I used it online, and then charged like thousands of dollars to my account, and I had a little hassle getting it fixed, but we eventually got it all sorted out with the bank. Goldman Sachs is the bank behind the Apple Card, and I got all the charges reversed, and that's good. And it's actually fun because the Apple Card, whenever you make a charge or attempt to charge, it pops up on your phone to say, oh, a charge here or decline charge on old card, right? And I keep seeing like someone trying to use that card at Pizza Hut, someone trying to use that card at GameStop, someone trying to. So it's kind of funny to see how that does. It's actually nice that I get these notifications, or I see a charge come up. I'm like, oh, that's another place I had that card. I need to fix that. Oh, I attempted to charge, that sort of thing. So that's nice. But it reminded me of one of my previous picks of the week that I should have been using and I wasn't. And that is something called Privacy Card, or at privacy.com. And as a quick recap, it works. They're disposable or one-time virtual credit cards. So you set up an account with privacy.com, you connect it to your bank account, and then you whenever you want to make a purchase, you can generate a new card. So a new card that could be specific to a particular vendor. So, or you can have generic cards that one card that you use for all the places, but I prefer to make them vendor specific. And that card can be a one-time use burn card. You can only ever use for one purchase. You can make it a ongoing card, but limit how much money can be charged per day, per month, per year, might even be per week. I forget exactly the intervals, but it's at least day, month, or a year. You can limit overall purchases or any individual purchase. So it's nice because if I say I go to Amazon, I have one of these on my Amazon account, and I go and I set it up, and someone gets that number and they charge it somewhere else. I'm like, that's the card that got burned, that got someone stole. I can kill that card and generate a new one and put that on the Amazon account, and then no one can then I don't have to go generate put new cards everywhere. So like if because how a while ago there was this rash of people's credit cards getting stolen, and every time that happened you'd have to go and like everywhere I have an automatic Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, Honor, you have to go change it everywhere. So if you have a card for each individual, you don't have to change the card every place. So that was good. And also the limit, so like I have Backblaze backup, and that's like $6 a month, and so I have it set to maximum that can be charged to that card is $6.50. And if someone steals that number, the most they could ever get off that card is $6.50. Also, if Backblaze raises its prices, they can't charge me until I know, until I go in and say, no, let me increase that. No, I don't want to do this anymore. So privacy.com, it's really good. And one of the new things that they've done is they've integrated with 1Password, the password manager. So now you can generate them from right inside 1Password's browser extension on the fly. So as I'm on the website, I can generate a new card, have it fill it in automatically. I can do all the settings for the use once or the limits of dollar amounts, that sort of thing. And so I can use that like that much even easier than it was before. So I just want to remind folks of that. And it's slightly more work, but it's a lot more security for the amount of work you put in.
I know that there are also banks that do similar services. Now, it might not be quite as feature filled, and it might not be as easy, because I also see on their website, it looks like they've got both Chrome and Firefox
extensions.
Extensions that do the similar thing that you're talking about with 1Password. So that's another option for those of us who don't use 1Password. We might use other password managers as well. But I know there are banks that do this as well, where they can do it through their banking app or whatever. But that's not as convenient as something like this, where, again, it can be integrated into your browser. It can be, you can manage it separately and everything. But it's a good idea, though, because it does kind of obfuscate your real credit card, your real banking information. Because I'm assuming they could do it something like a debit card, where it connect, you connect to your debit card or something like that, but you don't have to worry.
Exactly.
Because one concern when you're using this, Dom, you talked about with the Apple Card, you were able to get it cleared up relatively easily.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still a pain, but relatively easily. Debit cards, I think people kind of don't realize, is they operate on different rules. With credit cards, they get you your money back generally pretty quick. With debit cards, the banks have much longer time before they have to give you your money back. So a lot of times they wait until they resolve the situation. Well, that's pulling out your checking account, right? Most likely.
That happened to me once. Yeah.
And which means that you don't have your cash basically because let's be honest, our checking accounts are our cash today. You don't have your cash for upwards of 2 weeks sometimes, depending on the bank. Some banks are better than others, but so that's a concern with debit cards. They don't have the protections as readily. They do still have some protections, but not as readily. So something like this is a good option for that too, where again, you can control what is coming out of your debit card.
Right, exactly.
I'm just a little, I have not run into this problem, and I do a lot of stuff online, and I specifically got an Apple card because to use Apple Pay with it and to use it with all my other cards. So without giving away the financial bank here, was your card compromised through Apple Pay itself?
No, I should point out, and so that's actually a really good point. I use Apple Pay wherever I can. So Apple Pay is the one where you see the Pay with Apple Pay button on the screen, and you click it, and then you have to approve it like on your watch or on your phone. And that is even more secure than privacy.com. Because it generates automatically, Apple Pay generates a unique number that can never be reused, whether you're at a terminal at a store, a physical store, or you're doing it online. So I prefer that, and I use that wherever I see it. So that's true. What happened is I'm fairly certain I know where my card was compromised, and I was on the website, and I used the number that they give you and typed it in. And that is no safer than doing it with my regular credit card.
Yeah, it's the 16-digit number that you see on every credit card with the expiration date and the little security code on the back. That kind of routine.
I'm pretty sure I know who it was. I will never do business with them again. I told Goldman Sachs who I suspected where the hole was. I mean, the nice thing about the Apple card is the number's not printed on it. It can't be because the number can get regenerated at a moment's notice. But one of the biggest security holes for credit cards is not online. It's actually in person. If you hand your credit card to a waiter and they walk away with it, they can write it down.
Well, do you remember a few years ago, this was more than a few years ago, where there was real concern about the swiping your card at the gas station.
Exactly.
Yes.
Where people would put readers on top of this gas station
skimmers
reader.
Yeah,
they'd put skimmers, so you would be swiping it through two readers, not one, and they would get your cards. And that happened. That was quite the scare for a while. Same thing, ATMs. Similar thing happened there. You don't hear a lot.
Grocery stores too.
Yeah. So that's why I prefer, like, when I go to gas stations, if they have Apple Pay, I use my watch to pay. If they don't, then like a lot of the big gas companies like Mobile and that sort of stuff, they have apps where you can pay through the app. You just say, I'm at this station, at this pump, I pay through my app. That's much more secure, again, than sliding your card through it. I hate, like, I literally, if I ever have to use a card, I grab the thing and pull on it to see if it's loose, if there's something on top. I don't trust it.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, and I want to show my wife, and when my kids are old enough to start being out there, I want to train them to also be secure about their transactions, because it's a war, and we've got to defend ourselves against those who want to rip us off.
And should mention that the chip so far, as far as I know, the chip readers, if you put your card in with the chip reader, you're fine. So far, there's no way to spoof that. If you do the tap, like I've got a credit card that's got where you just tap the screen and it reads it, which is the same way and that does the same thing as Apple Pay, Google Pay. They all do the same. I think they all use very similar protocols when you do it that way. But those so far are impervious from being spoofed.
That's right.
I don't know if it's because of where I live, but I'm so frustrated that I cannot use that tap to pay in certain places. And it's could be just the area that I'm in, Rhode Island, southeastern Massachusetts. I just can't find a reader that will read it. And I also, there are limited places. There are more places that take Apple Pay, like in stores. But trying to go to the gas pump, it's like it's hit or miss, and it's mostly swipe your card. And
Mobile has a deal with Apple, so in fact you get 3% back if you use your Apple Pay at Mobile. And I have a Mobile literally almost across the street from me, so I'm very happy with that. I don't see any. I don't think I've seen any tap to pay places. It's all chip reader where you got to stick it in the terminal around here. I don't think I've seen a single tap to pay.
Right.
The gas stations are rare for tap to pay. I've only seen I've seen relative handful of them. But then again, you got the app.
Yeah, exactly. But even in stores, I haven't seen tap to pay, which is interesting. It's all slided in. So, but I see almost everywhere it does Apple Pay with weird gaps, like Home Depot and Lowe's. Like they don't do Apple Pay, but other like almost every place else I go, I can do my watch at the grocery store, at the convenience store. So it's awesome. And this past year, where people didn't want to touch things, it became even better because Apple Pay on your watch, you don't even have to take your mask off. You just hold it up to it. I go to the farmer's market. I use my watch to pay for everything at the farmer's market because they're all smart on this. So that works great too. So that's buying things online and being safe with your credit card. Let's talk a little bit about selling things online. And this is another area where I've had some experiences lately. I sometimes have stuff that I get for review that they tell me I can keep. And after a while, I'm like, I don't really need this anymore. And so I want to pass it on, maybe, recover some costs, that sort of thing. I mean, it's going to make a few bucks off of it. I try to give things away if I can, if I've received them for nothing. But some of this stuff I have to pay taxes on. So I try to get the taxes back on it. Anyway, I'm just justifying myself. So anyway, I've come up with some things I want to, some interesting lessons about it. I wrote a blog post about it. I'll put the link in the show notes. But a couple of rules come up when you're selling stuff person to person. And this is really, I feel like, person to person type stuff, especially when it involves seeing someone in person. So you're selling. So where do you sell things online? You can sell things on Craigslist. You can sell things on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Etsy, Amazon Marketplace. Joanne, you mentioned one called Mercari. What's that one?
Yeah, Mercari is almost like a garage sale on an app.
Okay.
And you download the app, you take pictures of your stuff, you upload it, and give it a price. And supposedly people, contact you and all that. People have my husband himself has said, you've got so much computer stuff, you should be selling this online. And I'm like, I'm very wary to do that. I like to know the people I'm selling it to rather than, just somebody coming up and buying it. But that Mercari one has been so promoted on TV and in ads that I figured to bring it up. I haven't seen, it just looks odd that people
Sketchy.
are walking around. That people are walking around taking pictures of their house, and aren't those pictures have some kind of metadata so
Possibly.
that people would know where those pictures are? See, that's the kind of stuff I think about.
No, and that's one of these things to be wary of is when you're uploading pictures to various sites, think about the metadata and the sorts of information you're telling people, like, this is stuff I own at this location, and so one thing you can do is to strip metadata out of your apps, out of your photos. And there are apps that'll do that. There's one called, for the iPhone, called Metapho, Metapho, that lets you strip metadata. There are other ones. You can look up metadata or EXIF data. That's another thing that it's called. And they will strip out the location data. Facebook says it strips the data out of photos uploaded to it. So that's.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, they strip it out of the app, out of the image that other people see. They still have the data. So
right.
So on the one hand, yes, the other people can't use the photos to find out where you are, but Facebook does. But then again, Facebook already, if you're using Facebook, they know that stuff already anyway. So a couple of things I want to mention about when you're selling online, and this is what happens. So let's say I have an old hard drive I want to sell on, online. I want to sell to someone local, and I go to Facebook Marketplace. I take a picture, I post it up there, put a description and a dollar amount. So one of the things, and I've generally had positive experiences selling stuff locally online. But that's usually because I'm careful. And one of the first things is I'm willing to negotiate on price. You just expect it. Everyone thinks it's we're at the old bazaar and in the Morocco, in the Casbah, and we're going to haggle, for the price. Okay, fine. But one of the things I don't do is I don't let myself get bullied into accepting less than I think is fair. Okay, I always have a fair price in mind. Some people will try to play sympathies, oh no, my phone, my kid's phone got broken, and can't you sell it to me for $5, your old phone for $5 instead of for $100? And it's like, I'm sorry, I can't afford that. Or it's people are trying to scam you out of it. So that's one. Or they try to nag you into things. They get aggressive, like, don't you want to, you sell it, or no one's going to buy it from you, or how dare you ask so much, or that sort of things. What they're trying to do is just play into our desires to be liked. We don't want people to not like us, and so it's a psychological thing. So have you guys ever seen that or experienced that, where someone tries to manipulate you into a more favorable deal for them?
When you're at a yard sale.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I have experience with yard sales where you actually see the person. And when you're marking everything, you mark it down enough so that you're still making something, but you've still got room to haggle. That's notorious. I've never been able to translate that to online.
Right. Sure.
That's the whole thing. I'd rather see somebody and see if they're really scamming me. I can tell sometimes by body language. How do you do that online,
It's hard to see. You got to have good instincts. You just got to trust your instincts and be wary. Just you got to enter into every situation being wary. And everyone hates to be suspicious of everyone, but online, on Facebook, with strangers, that's just you got to be.
Well, and it's you got to be willing to say, no, this is the price I set. I'm not willing to change it.
Right.
If you don't want my price, go somewhere else. I'm just not interested. But yeah, yard sales were horrible. I mean, you hear stories of people who almost get violent of like, no, I'm going to pay $5 for this $100, China or whatever. Yes. And you're not, if you don't give it to me, I'm going to take it from you. That kind of deal. You hear stories like that. You hear stories of people. The yard sale doesn't start till 8 o'clock. Well, they're there at 6 o'clock picking through the stuff as you're setting it out, stuff like that, and that is very much bullying tactics.
That's normal.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's something where the landowner should be saying no and don't come back. We're not interested in you if you're going to do that. But the same thing if you're doing it online. There's room for haggling. I think if you state there is, but the second you say no, I'm going to sell it for $100 and that's it. If someone continues to do the sob story, it's like, no, I'm done with you.
Right. You can block them. Just block them. One of the things I do is I always research ahead of time. How much is a fair price for this? What are other things like this in similar condition going for? And don't price things emotionally. It means more to me. Or I should want the more of the cost that I sunk into this, the more I paid for this, I want to recover. You have to be realistic about what something is worth in the open marketplace and be willing to go for that. But I had something I was selling and I priced it what I thought was a fair price. I kept getting lowballed. I kept saying no. So I lowered the price to a fair price, and then people were lowballing that, and I was like, this is just crazy. Like this was the price people were offering before, and then when I lowered it to close that, they went even lower. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to go back up again. And as soon as I did that, someone offered me the price that I was at my lowest price. I said, it's all yours. So
that's funny.
But it's being willing to say, no, I'm sorry, this is not going to work out. This obviously isn't the one for you. So good luck on finding a different one. Some people want it shipped. They want special handling, all that sort of stuff. And I was usually like, no, I'm preferring to sell this locally. I don't want to deal with the hassle of shipping and escrow and all the other stuff. I'd rather do a person-to-person deal. And, eventually I had to be patient for some things. It took a long time, and Facebook keeps telling, every once in a while, Facebook says, is this still, available? Is this still, you selling it? And nope, and so, yeah. So don't be bullied. So that's my first one. The second one I would say is beware of, there are two related things. Beware the sunk cost fallacy and beware of bait and switch. And what I mean by that is, you make a deal with someone online. Yep, this is it. This is what we're going to pay. And then they show up and they say, oh, you know what? I've only got, I was going to give you I told you $100. I've only got $80 on me. and I've driven all this way. Could you just take this money? And no, don't fall for it. Like you don't want to be mean to someone, but there's an ATM down the street, or, oh, this is all I've got. I'm sorry. I was very clear online. We made an agreement. You shouldn't have showed up with less than the agreed upon amount. You got to be firm with people. Otherwise you're going to get scammed. And so don't let people try to take advantage of you like that. Well, I've never had that happen, but I also never feel bad about counting the money right there in front of them. I don't know you, dude. So I'm going to count the money.
And tie with that too is if they decided they were going to show up with a personal check or something instead.
Oh yeah,
that's my other thing. Is be clear in advance what you're going to use for the rate of the exchange. Is it cash? My first preference is cash. Cash is, as I say, cash is legal tender everywhere, and so I always take cash. Maybe I'll go with Venmo or one of these other, or I've never had someone say Apple Cash, but you could do Apple Cash. But one of these digital cash transfers things. So I've taken Venmo before, but I don't take checks, and I can't take a credit card or whatever like that, or I don't barter. But always be clear up front what exchange you're willing to go for, what your legal tender is.
And the nice thing is if you did something like Venmo or the Facebook transfer or PayPal or something like that, is you can show up there with the cash in your account. Basically, you can know for a fact that you have received that money from them in a way that they cannot pull it back. Right.
And it's safe for the seller too. I mean, for the buyer too. So they show up, they see the product, they get to look at it, and then they can say, okay, I'm transferring the money now. And it transfers, and you look at your phone, and you say, okay, it showed up in my account. Here you go. That there's a little bit of safety in that situation for both sides.
And that would be best, especially if you're selling something that's a higher dollar value. Let's say a car.
Oh, yes.
If you're going to sell something like I've got this beater, it's $2,000. You don't want someone running around with $2,000, and you don't want to be carrying $2,000 out of the deal. But if you can say, okay, we're going to show up, and then we're going to use Venmo, and I will give you the title and the keys when I see the transaction complete on my end.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you could do things like a bank check, a certified check, or something made out to a specific person, or that sort of thing. That's how we used to do things. But again, you're carrying around this check, and it's right. It's much better to just put it through. It's safer in some ways to put it through a digital transfer like that. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Some banks will have transfers you can do from your bank account. Like Bank of America uses Zelle. I think a lot of the big banks uses Zelle, which is built into their own apps. So that's another way if you don't want to use a third-party app, that sort of thing. So one of the other things that I would mention is I often have people come to my house. I'm not scared of people coming to my house. I feel safe in my house. I try to gauge who I'm dealing with but if I felt at all iffy about someone, I would arrange for a safe place for the exchange that's not my house. And one of the things that a lot of places are doing, like a lot of towns, the police will have designated spots in their parking lot as internet exchange locations or whatever, the internet commerce, whatever they call it. But, meet at the police station in their parking lot. That would be a bold crook who'd want to knock you over the head in front of the police station, let me tell you. So that would be another way to do it. Or in public, in a mall, in a nice big public place, or that sort of thing.
Yeah, especially somewhere with cameras.
Yes.
If there's, of course, you're talking about earlier about if someone comes out, I only have $80 of the $100. Well, there's an ATM right inside that gas station about 3 steps away.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, that's we're standing outside a bank. Right.
But some place where there's high traffic, that if they try something, there's going to be people around. They're going to be less likely to try to rip you off, by stealing or whatever, if they know that there's traffic constantly coming and going that's going to see them doing this.
Right. It'd be interesting if banks would do this. I mean, because banks, the bank lobbies are less busy these days. There's less fewer people going into banks. So it'd be a way for banks to bring people in, because a bank is a secure place. There's cameras everywhere. There'd be that whole sort of thing. It would be interesting.
I want to say I've heard of some banks, just a small number, actually encouraging that.
Yeah. it makes sense. And then when the financial transaction is happening, you're in a bank, and maybe that's where you're drawing the money out, or you deposit right in your bank account if they hand you cash.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good.
See, as a woman, I get a little nervous. Because, and as an older woman, if I'm standing, not that I'm afraid of a lot of things, but if I'm meeting somebody I don't know, is outside of my neighborhood, I want to take people with me.
Definitely.
Because I think you're safer in numbers.
Yes, that's a good point.
But women, I have a feeling that's why something like Cory or something like good old trusty eBay is a lot better to sit behind. Because it has some kind of a form, that you have a place to go if something happens, things go awry.
Right.
I never liked Craigslist because of that, because it was just so Wild West.
It is, yeah.
You got to admit, it is Wild West. Etsy is more for folks who are...
They're selling crafts, more like a flea market.
Things, yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a flea market sort of thing.
Things. But, I would like to get rid of... I'd like to downsize. And I'm looking at all of this saying, what would be my best bet at this point in my life, who I am, and how I can do this safely and still make a little pocket change to buy, the next gadget.
Yeah, I feel like eBay is for things you're willing to ship, really.
Okay.
That's I've always looked at it in that way.
They do have the option of in person on eBay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's by and large it's stuff that's not in your area.
And I prefer not to have to do the whole bidding thing. I just here's the price, offer the first person to offer me the price gets the thing.
Well, I've noticed more and more on eBay, it's buy now.
Yeah.
My husband does a lot of eBay buying of golf equipment. And he very rarely puts in an auction anymore. It's all buy now, buy now, buy now.
I think Facebook Marketplace is good. Like eBay, you have to have an account, but how hard is it to create a new account? Facebook Marketplace, you have to have a Facebook account, and anybody can create a Facebook account, but you can do a little due diligence and look at people's profiles and say, has this profile just been created a week ago, or has this person got connections and people and looks like a real person? So you can do a little more research. I think a lot of people are using Facebook Marketplace. I think it's sort of replaced Craigslist in many ways. I've used it a lot lately. When I've listed things on both Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, and Facebook is the place where it sells, frankly, for me locally where I am. So, I mean, it could be different where other people are. Amazon Marketplace, you can actually sell things on Amazon. They have a third-party marketplace, although I think it's become less common, and I don't think Amazon's really pushing that anymore.
What I'm finding on Amazon is sometimes when you go to buy something, it doesn't quite clearly differentiate between this is a regular seller and this is a marketplace thing.
Yeah.
So we've run into that problem before.
Especially with used stuff. Yeah.
Where we actually are buying from a marketplace and not from like Prime or a seller that they've had, a third-party seller that they trust. So you got to read those very carefully now when they come up.
That's why if it ships via Prime, then it's in Amazon's warehouse, and therefore you can be a little more assured that at least it's somebody they know. Doesn't mean it's going to be quality. There's a lot of knockoffs that are being sold on Amazon these days. That's a whole other issue. But yeah.
Well, and it's with Amazon especially, it gets so strange because they try to obfuscate that on purpose.
Right.
But of course, their preference is that you buy it from Amazon or one of their dealers.
Yeah, they make more money off of that too, so that's better for them. Anything else, other advice you want to give to people who are buying and selling online? I think we've covered it pretty well.
I think the pandemic has put a lot of people doing just this because no one wanted to go out anywhere. And now that things are opening up again, I'm finding there are some things I've said, I really like having it shipped here. And there are other things like, yeah, I'm going back to a store.
Right.
Especially for clothes, I'm going back to a store.
That's right.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if things like farmers markets, like bazaars, if yard sales, how those come back.
Yes,
and I think they will, and I think they'll come back fairly strong. But I wonder how many of these companies these places that do things like bazaars and farmers markets will try to get more of the online transactions, the Square reader or whatever, so that you can do all your transaction online.
Our farmers market has more of the vendors are doing the Square readers, the tap to pay with your watch sort of stuff, the contactless payment, and more of them are doing pre-ordering online. So you can pre-order and they have it ready for you, and you don't have to stay in the crowd. So there's a lot more of that than there was before too, I've noticed. So I think that's going to be with us for a while. So I didn't mention, like, when you're selling in a pandemic and contact with people was an issue. So I would usually mask up. We'd stand at a distance. I'd put the thing down. The person would approach, pick it up, look at it, and then, hand me the cash. We'd be safe. I'd gauge the other person's comfort level. We'd always do it outside, that sort of thing. These days it's less important, but it might even be worthwhile asking if you're vaccinated, what sort of precautions should we take when we're in person, that sort of thing, if that's your comfort level. So, something to keep in mind as well. All right, let's move on to our headlines. Before that, I want to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Tony G, Carrie C, William T, Gyro C, and Adam F. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So this headline that I want to talk about is just it's too good. It's too 2021, the cloud. And Father Cory, you're a U.S. Air Force veteran. You can talk about this a little bit from your point of view. So apparently, U.S. soldiers stationed in Europe who are in charge of guarding our nuclear weapons in Europe were using the apps online or on their phones to create study aids for them, because they have to study the protocols, the security procedures, all that sort of stuff. And so they were using these tools to help them study, make sure they understood how to deal with, their patrol schedules, where the bombs are on base, it's top secret information. The problem is they were using apps that upload the stuff into the cloud and didn't realize that other people can look at the flashcard sets that they were creating, therefore exposing to everyone and their grandmother where our nuclear weapons are on each base and what the security schedules are, the patrol schedules, and this top secret information. This is a problem. In all seriousness, that is a huge security problem.
Oh, boy,
Father Cory, what do you think?
Did they not listen during their security briefings that said you don't put top secret information on an unclassified computer network? Did they not listen? I mean, that's the first thing they said when I got briefed in for above top secret. I was top secret special compartmentalized information, which is above top secret. This is the level that this information they're talking about is at. And it's literally, if you only know, it's literally if you need to know it, you'll know it. If you don't, you don't, It's neat. This is when they talk about need to know. That's what this level is. And the first thing, the last thing, the middle thing, everything they pound on you is you only put the level of information on the computer network cleared for it. And there's stickers on every machine that says unclassified, secret, top secret, SCI, it's clear. And they would have had to go sit down at an unclassified computer with this top secret information in a top secret area, a SCIF, special compartmentalized information, and they did it anyways, knowing they shouldn't have.
Right.
I have a feeling that if they found out who did it,
oh yes,
if he's lucky, he lost a rank or two. If he's not so lucky, he got a discharge that says dishonorable.
Yeah, less than honorable, dishonorable. Well, it's not even just one. This is multiple. So the one had to do with Vocal Air Base in the Netherlands. There was another one at Aviano Air Base in Italy. The other bases in Turkey, Belgium, and Germany. Yeah. Yeah.
I should also mention that there's very likely the chance of jail time.
Yeah. Yeah.
federal military jail time.
Leavenworth.
So
break some rocks.
This is taken very seriously in the military when you miss levels of classification like this and you put the wrong information. Now, if they had done something like this on a top secret level, if they had a software that was approved for doing flashcard type information on top secret, it would have been non-issue. They would probably been praised for doing it, but not on an unclassified information.
My question in hearing all of this, I don't think it's a question. I think I'm losing a lot of faith in our abilities in government in the United States to lock our stuff down and keep it from letting others see our hand. I mean, this week now we've got slaughterhouses that can't do their thing because somebody hacked them. We've had a pipeline that's been hacked. Now we've got the military throwing out flash. What the heck? Did anybody take a basic computer course to learn how to, make sure we don't get hacked or let things go? I mean, what is up?
Network security has been an issue since the 90s. I mean, and we still haven't learned it. I mean, we would talk about it in the military, and I did some computer network security after I was in the Air Force, after I got out of the Air Force, and it's still an issue. The internet is a wonderful tool, and like these places, like these slaughterhouses. This was a mega conglomerate from Brazil that had bought up slaughterhouses here in the United States, and all their systems were connected to the internet, and they had firewalls and VPNs. But there was some weakness somewhere. There was some way that somebody broke through a firewall and they weren't doing security checks. They weren't getting, hiring white hat hackers. White hacks are the guys who do it to find security holes so that they can be fixed. The black hats are the ones who find the security holes to do things like we saw with the pipeline and so on.
That's actually our second headline is this revelation that there are, if you are looking to get a job in computers these days, get trained in cybersecurity. There are millions of jobs available. Like they're dying. They're paying huge money to anyone who has got abilities in cybersecurity. This is a CNN headline that looks at what is it? There's a cybersecurity labor shortage. There's been one for at least a decade now, and there's a new surge in companies looking to hire. Now that we've had all these big hacks that are out there, in the U.S., there are 879,000 cybersecurity professionals today, and an unfilled need for another 359,000. Like, I'm going to look at my kids. I'm like, look, if you're looking for a good job, get trained in cybersecurity. They're a few years away from it, but that would be the thing. I mean, information security analyst is the 10th fastest growing occupation over the next decade, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, a growth rate of 31%.
And I think it's because no one has ever taken this seriously.
Not seriously enough. Yeah.
Well, that's just it. They think that happens to someone else. It doesn't happen to us because, we're running on Windows 8. Whoa, wait a minute. Roll back.
Well, I've got Norton antivirus, right? Aren't I safe?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a firewall you have to log through to get out onto the internet, so we must be safe.
Right.
I'm on a Mac. That was always a thing. I'm on a Mac. I don't have to worry about it.
And our budget is limited, and we don't have enough money to pay for cybersecurity, so we'll just be safe.
Well, and there's very much a sense of security by obscurity. If they don't know you're there, you're safe. Well, that's not the case. One thing I did see when I was working as in network security, we would have sweeps of our network where we would have these attacks that would come through and try to hit every IP address on our network. Because they would just sweep. They knew that this network existed. They knew who owned this network. And it would be places like the University of Beijing. Gee, I wonder why a university in China would be trying to sweep a government network.
Right.
This isn't just kids playing around, I can tell you that.
Exactly.
This is all, but, we're obscure because nobody knows about our company. Nobody knows about our network, but they're looking for them.
And as we've said many, many times, among the worst with computer security are churches, nonprofits, ministries. I can't tell you how many times in my various jobs around the Catholic Church, around other nonprofits, where I encountered text files with passwords left unsecured on an open network, on an open Wi-Fi network. You're just asking for people to be able to break into your bank account because that's where your password is. Like, or the big boss in charge of a huge part of the network with a password that is so simple to guess. I could tell you off the top of my head, probably. It's just, we've got to take these things more seriously. Even simple steps. We're not even doing the simple stuff in many cases.
This would be something I know dioceses don't want to hear. We need more positions, but this would be something that a diocese could really do for parishes: is have an IT guy that is permanently hired. Even a diocese as small as mine. As a matter of fact, I might make this recommendation to Bishop. His job is not to sit in the chancery. His job is to go from parish to parish and, okay, let's secure things. Let me train you on how to do some of this stuff securely. Now, that's not saying, like in a small parish like mine, where literally, this is my computer, this is my network, is what's in my house. That maybe a lot needs to be done. And of course, I know what I'm doing. But, even in the parish I was at before, where we had 3 or 4 computers hooked up to a network. Mm-hmm. How do you secure that? How do you make sure that people can't get in? Because they're going to try to find it once they know where you're at.
And even beyond that, like, it would be a service to the parish to have him that guy have a meeting with the parish community about basic personal cybersecurity,
how to update your computer.
Right. And we do this when we want to get money from people. This is a little inside baseball, but you have a development guy come from the diocese, show up at a parish to talk about legacy planning, or how do you plan your what's the word, plan giving, what are you going to do when you die, and we're helping you with. Oh, and by the way, if you want to, some of that plan giving goes to the church. We'd be happy to help you with that. Well, why don't we go help people with their security, their cybersecurity? If people aren't getting ripped off, they have more money that they can use to support their parish. The parish should be more than just a place people go on Sunday for Mass. It should be a part of the community and doing things for the community. And so more than just even helping parishes secure their office computers, could be helping people in the parish.
And I think, and not just in the parish, but in the parish staffs. I hate to say this because you've got folks being expected to use technology who haven't the first clue sometimes how to use technology. So while you need a guy going around making sure everybody's secure in a diocese, I think you need a guy or gal who's able to sit down with parish staffs and say, what are you using and how can we make it more secure and better for you to use?
Definitely.
Because I'll tell you, I know parish staffs that are still on Office 10.
Yes.
Okay, 2010, which keeps getting, stuff pulled out of it. And they keep saying, why can't I do this anymore? Because it's old.
Right. We talked recently about upgrading obsolete OSs, and, parish offices are notorious for having not upgrading and old technology. And so. All right, let's move on to our next headline. This is time sensitive. We mentioned this before, but this is coming now. June 8th is the date when Amazon will have its Echo devices. I'm using that word so mine doesn't wake up the device. There's Amazon Sidewalk feature will activate. Amazon Sidewalk is a shared network that your Echo devices, your Ring cameras, anything, your tile trackers, and a bunch of other stuff connected to it will form a mesh network. They will connect to one another. They'll connect to your neighbor's network. They're going to share this. They're going to create a cloud of network coverage that will let them all work better. So, as an example, if your Ring camera is on the far side of your house and it's closer to your neighbor's Ring cameras than it is to your Wi-Fi router, it will share that. If he's got Amazon Sidewalk active on his network and you have it active on yours, and it's a way of making these things work better. Or tile trackers. As the tile tracker moves around, it doesn't have to be just around other people's phones with the tile app on it. If it's near anything that's part of Amazon Sidewalk, it will also be. So it sounds like a good idea. A lot of people are worried, though, that I'm opening up my network for anyone to use, including Amazon. And frankly, I'm not sure I want Amazon to have to give unfettered access, essentially, to whoever it deems okay. It's a potential security and privacy hole. So if you have any Amazon devices, which includes Ring, which includes Echo devices, it includes Tile, you have to download the Amazon Alexa app. I was waiting for it to activate to your phone or iPad or what have you. Go into it, and I'll have a link to a thing that explains how to turn it off. But you go into the settings and tell it off, Amazon Sidewalk off. If you don't do that, as of June 8th, your devices will automatically be enrolled. So at the moment, this is U.S. only. So if you're in Canada, Mexico, UK, Australia, you don't have to worry about this just yet. But you do have to, if you're in the U.S., you have to do this now or you'll be enrolled.
When this first came out, I read it and I went, no, thank you. I'm going to be the hole in the cloud. And I shut it off.
Right.
And when I saw this on the agenda for this week, I went back to my little A-Lady app and looked at it. I said, yep, I did turn that off. I just don't feel comfortable with that. And there are a lot of Ring video doorbells in my neighborhood. And I know most people have, a couple of those lovely little devices. And I just don't feel comfortable with it. I don't want to be not that I don't want to be a bad neighbor, but I just don't think you got to prove to me that this is actually going to work and not be another one of those, information sucks that just kind of takes everybody's information and puts it somewhere else.
I want to be a good neighbor. I don't want my neighbors to go rifle through my dresser drawers. There's a limit. And my stuff, my Echoes, my Ring cameras, they work fine on my network. I don't need anybody else's network to make them work okay. So I don't want to be out there. And frankly, this reminds me of the Verizon thing where they have the public Wi-Fi hotspots that run off your router. I've got that turned off too.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Verizon does that too, because I know there wasn't their Xfinity or was another one that did that.
I'm sorry, that's what it was. Xfinity does it. I don't think Verizon's doing that yet. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I wonder with Amazon's, how many actual mobile Amazon devices are there?
Well, it's not so much about the mobile Amazon devices as it is about creating this web of connection from house to house to house to house.
Oh,
that's, I think, and they want to bring in third parties like Tile, and what they will do is once this is active, they'll be able to go to other companies and say, you want to be part of this, and you want to be part of this, right?
And now there's a whole bunch of people part of this, and they're also getting your information. Yeah, that's why it's off.
And by the way, and then we have Blade Runner, where as you're walking along, all of a sudden customized ads shows up on billboards at the bus stop or whatever.
That's the thing. Amazon then can use this network to follow your phone as it travels through their the mesh-like network.
You've got the little tile puck attached to the back of your phone. Now we know where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's why one of the reasons why I'm slowly replacing my tiles with the Apple tags. So it's an expensive replacement process, but as the tiles batteries die, they're going to be replaced by AirTags because they are more secure, they're more private. That's the Apple's selling point on those. All right, so that's make sure to take care of that. Another thing you need to also look at as a date sensitive, we talked about before. As of June 1st, Google Photos no longer offers free storage for your photos unless you have purchased storage space. So if you have a Google account, you have even a free Gmail account, you have a certain amount of free storage space on their servers. I think it's 15 gigs, but that includes all of your email and all the attachments and all that sort of stuff. So now from June 1st, any photos that you add from that point on will no longer will count against that stored space. Before June 1st, when you uploaded stuff, you could upload as many photos you want. It was unlimited. They were compressed. They were not the uncompressed storage cost extra. But any photos that you uploaded that you were okay with them being compressed, you could upload as many as you want. But as of June 1st, and now I should point out, anything that you uploaded before June 1st is free and doesn't count against your cap. It's only stuff you upload from June 1st on.
And I should point out, if you had a Pixel phone like I do, you would get the free storage for the original quality photos.
Yes.
It's only if you're using a non-Google device, so an Apple device or Samsung or something like that, or just directly uploading them, that they would compress them to the high quality instead of the original quality.
Yes. Right.
So this little caveat there, because I just looked, and I've got pictures, all the pictures I've taken before yesterday, because as we film this or record this, it is June 2nd, so it's after this change made. They're all the original quality photos.
And when I saw this a while ago, I went over to Amazon because I'm a Prime member, and if you want to take your photos out of Google, Google has a way for you to do that.
Yes, to their credit, they do. Yeah.
They do. So you can take them all out and then upload them to Amazon. I've not taken them off of Google yet, but because I'm still working with the Amazon so that it goes right to Amazon and doesn't keep going to Google. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's not that I don't want to pay. It's just these are photos. Sometimes these are photos for work. Sometimes these are personal photos. And I'm starting to learn how to separate that. So because the photos for work disappear. So, when I don't need them anymore. So it depends on how you use things that you should choose what you want to upload to.
I use Google Photos as sort of a backup of last resort. So I have my photos in iCloud photo library, and they're at their full resolution there and all of that. And that's where they go first. But I've had Google Photos, and they're compressed. They're high quality, but compressed. And if God forbid something horrible happened to my iCloud photo library that was unrecoverable, I would at least have that. And that's how I felt about it. Because of anything that I losing photos is one of the worst things. If you lost all your photos, just all the kids and all the vacations and all the people in your life that have passed on, that sort of stuff, it would be horrible, the worst thing. So this is my place of last resort.
And let's be clear again, Google is not going to say you have to charge for all your photos. You have 15 gigabytes free as of this point. So don't feel like you have to dump Google Photos, and any photo you put out there before Monday still counts as free. It doesn't go against your cap. It's anything from this point on. I'm trying to make sure that people aren't feeling like they have to immediately dump Google Photos. If Google Photos works for you, like it does for me, I'm going to continue to use it. And because, I've got a Google device and it works best. What's better to do is use Google Photos as long as you've got the room, and get something like Amazon. I use Dropbox. I pay for 2 terabytes of Dropbox storage, and every photo I take, the original is copied from my phone to Dropbox. So I have that as well. So it's good to have more than one location. Don't just rely, and that's the point of this. Don't just rely on Apple. Don't just rely on Google. Have multiple copies.
Yes, and I had a mishap a while back when I was a young, foolish, geeky person and lost part of my iCloud library, but Google has it. So that's why it was important for me to find now another place, because my iCloud library does not have every single photo that I've taken since we started all this. Plus, remember, videos go into photos. And I think because I do a lot of video rendering for work, that's where I get very concerned, although I've started to portion that out now. But they take up a lot more room, so 15 gig is going to go fast if you're doing photos and video at the same time.
I'm trying to find out how much Google charges for storage.
Let's see, where did I find that?
Yeah, I'm not seeing it easily. And
they've got what's called Google One.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is, it's kind of like the Apple One or whatever they call it.
Yeah. But I'm going to guess that additional storage is going to be like it is for, additional storage in Apple or Dropbox. It's you could probably get a terabyte for a few bucks a month at most, that sort of thing.
So I just looked it up on mine. It's 100 gigabytes for $2 a month. So it's not terrible. It's not a terrible price. And I'm sure they've got other packages. That's just the one. Button.
I'm thinking 100 gigs for $2 a month. I'm not sure my whole 10 years of photos is 100 gigs for me, uncompressed photos. So it's, if
I know
you want to back up.
I'm currently using like I'm just using like 12 gig right now, but I'm not I'm not the biggest shutter bug either. So
right, exactly. All right, so that's good. All right, I think we should move on from our headlines then and get to our picks of the week. And Father Cory, what is your pick this week?
So my pick is something that if you're like me, the first thing you do after buying a phone, maybe even before you get it on the network, is you put a case on it. It's just and part of the reason is I've gotten this habit is I've dropped phones and had, like my Pixel 4 that I use, like the first week I had, before I even got the case, because I bought it brand new, so the cases weren't even available yet. Like within the 2 days, I dropped it on concrete and put a little chip in the side of the case.
I hate that.
It's a metal case, but there's still a little chip in it now because of that. So unfortunate, that's all it did. So buying a case, and one thing I did with my iPad, because I use it for my homilies, I travel with it, is I bought an OtterBox Defender, which is the big, thick case. The case is like 2 times the size of the iPad itself. And I was reminded of this the other day where I opened it up to clean it. Gunk gets in there, dirt gets in there. And it's like, oh, yeah, the iPad is only about, this big. And the Defender is like 3 times the size with it in there. But it's a hard case. The iPad itself is between 2 layers. And then there's a cover that goes on top of the screen. And the screen itself has a protector. And so OtterBox is well known for making these very rugged, very durable, waterproof many times, cases that you can rely on, especially, again, the Defender class that are designed to be you can drop this and nothing will happen to your iPad. The case might get beat up, but you'll be fine. And so it's very much worth looking, if you're like me, where you're going to drop these things. It's just going to happen, to getting a good case. And, of course, they've got different levels of cases. They've got screen protectors. But like I'm looking here for my Pixel 4, it's like $60 for the Defender case, which, again, it's a very heavy, thick case that really encloses the phone. You can get like a belt clip for it. And I'm sure you've seen people do that, where they've got the little clip that the phone snaps onto. And that way, then the phone's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to have to worry about risking these phones, because these devices are $1,000, $1,500, sometimes as much as $2,000 now. And we really need to protect them, because many of us can't afford to replace them on a regular basis. So this is $60 that can protect your device for years. Like, again, I've had my iPad, I've dropped it, and my iPad looks brand new still inside of there. So
if you give your devices to kids, if your kids have an iPad, they have a phone, let me tell you, every kid I've ever seen with a phone has a broken screen. They just do.
Yeah.
And you need to put them in good cases to protect the screen. It's worth, because it costs more than the case to replace the screen once. So
yes.
And these little cases like I've got, where it's just a little wraparound thing where it's got a little lip, those are fine. They help. If you drop on a table, it's not going to break the screen or whatever. But if it smacks from, 5 feet up, if they're standing on the top of the steps and it drops to the concrete below,
it's toast.
These little cases aren't going to help that much.
Or it careens off a car top.
Off a car top. Yep. So getting a good case is worth it. And OtterBox is, in my opinion, one of the best brands out there for.
All right, excellent. Joanne, what is your pick this week? I know.
Yes, I said before that I was going to do this, and I did.
Do you have an OtterBox case for it yet?
No, I don't. No, I don't. But I did snag myself the new iPad Pro 12.9 inch with the lovely screen, mini LED screen, and the Thunderbolt port. I'm not sure which one I like better of those 2 little additions, because I'll tell you, the first thing I did, because screens and I, right now I have a little bit of an eye thing going, so screens and I need bigger at this moment. This thing is so clear. I mean, we have smaller iPads in the house, and I did try to do a little bit of a comparison. The screen is crisp. It's like I'm walking around with a small television set.
Nice.
It's that clear a screen. Okay, and everything is really sharp. The blacks are black. It moves really, when it's shifting through scenes, and so it moves really fast. But then there's that Thunderbolt port. Oh my, seriously, I took it and I connected it to my screens here in the office, and it didn't run both, but it ran one of them from the switch that I have here, because I have a
the port switcher.
Yeah,
a KMI switch or
KVM? No. I wait for my big time here, and I lose the words in my head some days. I have a Belkin port.
Oh, okay.
Where I put it has 2 USB switches. It has a Thunderbolt. It has all of that and the Ethernet. I put it on there. It ran it won't run both screens, but it runs one of them clearly. So, and my keyboard immediately attaches to it. The trackpad does not. You have to go into accessibility and enable that trackpad to work. But once you do, it's like I could now go from home to work with just an iPad, put it on those two hubs, and I would be all set to go. Now, I didn't get a big one. I got a 120. I did this purposely. I got a 128 because I wanted it right away. Instead, because I knew if I went 256 or above, it would be. And I didn't think And I didn't think I needed 16 gig of RAM either, because of what I use it for at this point. But this is what I originally wanted to do 2 years ago when I bought a large iPad, was to be able to have a small iMac Mini in the house, and then use this outside and run the same kind of stuff. And I'm still working with it. I've only had it a week and a half, but I can tell you, if you have a 2 years or older iPad, this is a wonderful bump up.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. And the camera on it, haven't done too much with it yet. It seems to be very crisp and clear. I have taken some more crisp than before. But center stage, it's that front camera now, which was always lousy on an iPad, is now crisper. It's not totally, it's crisper, but it has this thing called center stage. And center stage is kind of like a gimbal, where if you move, it goes with you.
It automatically follows you around.
It follows you, and then if somebody else comes into the picture, it widens the picture all of a sudden. So they're not trying to crowd in to the little space before. So
and Zoom now supports center stage. It's built.
Yes.
They're building it in. Yeah.
Wow.
I have not tried that yet with Zoom, but yes, it does. I'm looking forward to trying that. So this is, if you have a 2 year, like I had a 2-year-old iPad, I got decent money for it. So that this really only cost me half the price that you would buy it straight out with. So if you've got an iPad and you want to upgrade and your iPad still has some money in it, go through the trade-in. And I finally got Space Gray, which I hadn't been able to get ever.
Oh, yes.
So I highly endorse it. I'm going to be getting the Bridge keyboard next, because the Bridge keyboard I have does not fit this, because it's just a little bit thicker.
Slightly different.
But of course.
Yeah, of course.
So
always.
I'm going to be getting the new one, so that'll probably be a pick coming on down the road.
Awesome. Well, my pick this week is a YouTube channel that I'm going to recommend. It's called Simply Explained. And it's this fellow who makes these animated videos that explain usually technical concepts. And one of the ones that I really enjoyed was he explained, how does blockchain work? And it was so helpful, because it's such everything is blockchain these days. Oh, NFTs and cryptocurrency, and everything is about blockchain with smart contracts. And like, well, okay, but what is a blockchain? And nobody could seem to explain it in a way that was clear and understandable. It made sense. And he did. And this is a really excellent little video, just a few minutes long, and explains, when you've watched it, you'll have a basic understanding, not an advanced understanding necessarily, but a basic understanding of how blockchain works. So it's Simply Explained. I'll put the link in the show notes on sqpn.com, but definitely check it out. That and there's lots of other videos that he's got, years worth of videos, and it'll be a nice little education in some technology concepts for you. So that should do it, I think. So if you have feedback on our discussion, you can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology, or the SQPN Facebook page at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or send an email to technology@sqpn.com. You can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at sqpn.com. Be sure to write a review of the show if you can. Take a moment out of your day, and we'd really appreciate it if you write a review in Apple Podcasts or one of the other podcast directories, wherever you get your show from, and share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow this community of listeners. You've been doing such a great job at that, folks. I know, because our show is in the top 100 of tech news podcasts on Apple Podcasts. So that's a
Cool.
that's a big deal. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of tech podcasts out there, so to get into the top 100 is really gratifying, and that's because of you listening and sharing and writing reviews, and we really appreciate that. So until next time, Father Cory Stika, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Dom.
Joanne Mercier, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.